This doesn't really work without my visual aid, which I don't have yet, but I'm going to show a picture of a random cyclist. I'm going to say, does anyone know who this is? And then another random cyclist, does anyone know who this is? And then I'm going to show a picture of Lance Armstrong, who I think more people will either know or they'll at least know his name. And I'm going to say this. This is Lance Armstrong. If you recognize him, it's probably from either his career as the most successful cyclist of all time or his massive 2013 doping scandal. My whole life I've been enamored with sports, so much so that I've been playing sports since I was 3 years old. As I aged and met more and more athletes, I realized that steroids were far more prevalent in youth than I ever thought they were. Steroids are extremely dangerous, even for adults. A 35-year-old taking steroids perfectly carefully and following all precautions can still experience extreme health hazards. A 16-year-old taking steroids has an increased chance of misusing, overdosing, or simply experiencing negative effects from steroids. Experiencing high school athletics seriously opened my eyes to the dangers and prevalence of anabolic steroids, specifically trenbolone acetate, in youth. I want to go over some specifics. How many users are there? Why do high schoolers choose to use? And how dangerous really is it? My junior year of high school, I made varsity of my school's basketball team. Among my new teammates was someone I'd become good friends with. We'll call him N. N was a gifted athlete, but his heart wasn't in basketball. He was just a gym body. Our coach warned against lifting weights during season too often as it could mess up our shot. N would come to our 5 a.m. Friday practices and talk about he'd been lifting for the last hour, and it was his 5th lift of the week. Now, N was like 5'9". He was muscular, but he wasn't naturally built. Through the season, you could see the results of his lifting paying off. We left for the summer, and by the time we got back to practicing about 3 or 4 months later, he'd put on 40 pounds of muscle, and he looked like he doubled in size. We all made our jokes. We were like, wow, N, you've been in the gym. But his physique wasn't the only thing that had changed. He developed some pretty intense acne, specifically on his chest and on his back, and he was extra irritable during our scrimmages. My friend Lincoln and I, who were closer with him than most others on the team, asked him what he was up to during the summer, and he responded, Tren. Herein lies a reason why teens use Tren, or any steroid. It works. It's like a get-rich-quick scheme to build muscle. That also leads to why a lot of teens specifically use. They don't think about the lasting effects of what they're doing. These are 2 potential answers, but I want to cover more facets. What makes a teen start using steroids? Why did my teammate N choose to start that summer? And what are the common factors in a teen's decision to start? Now, I've already discussed a couple possible reasons. It works, and it's easier for teens not to realize the ramifications of what they're doing. From another perspective, I think the reasons are largely social. According to GetNux steroid use statistics, 2.5% of high school students have abused steroids at some point in their lives. That's nearly 500,000 students. Add in that nearly all adolescent users are male and are athletes, and we can estimate that over 10% of male high school athletes have used anabolic steroids at some time. A big proponent of steroid use among impressionable teens are the influencers in the bodybuilding and weightlifting spheres. Influencers like Sam Sulek, Christian Guzman, and the Liver King have all either admitted to using steroids or are widely believed to be users. Pair that with athletes like Lance Armstrong, Alex Rodriguez, and John Jones dominating their respective sports and being outed for steroid use, as well as teens seeing their peers using anabolic steroids and seeing results. Teens are impressionable and take a lot from what they see from their media. 81% of men in America consider themselves to be sports fans, and about a third of Sam Sulek's 5 million followers are high school aged. High school is a time of affiliation and trying to fit into groups and with others, which naturally makes self-esteem a big issue at that age. A physique like Sam Sulek's is nearly impossible to achieve for a lot of people, naturally, which could drive teens watching him to chase that physique and eventually turn to steroids. This issue is far deeper than Sam Sulek and other gym influencers. This problem starts at the top with bodybuilding as a sport and as an industry. Bodybuilding has a major drug problem, and practically all the top bodybuilders are using steroids. It starts at the top and trickles down to the teenagers that see success being acquired through synthetic means. Now, what to do about this? I'm not really sure. Surely more restrictions on different kinds of steroids, which itself is a reason why trenbolone acetate is so much more popular among young people than, say, professional athletes. It's easier to acquire, and it was never even approved for human use. Its only legal current use is for livestock. There needs to be stricter regulations on these things for everyone, especially when it comes to kids. I've seen it affect people in my life. If you've been in an environment like that, it's a good chance you've seen it too. We're growing into the next generations of parents, and it's our responsibility to make sure our children are making safe decisions. For example, there are no guidelines for the use of trenbolone acetate, seeing as it was never intended for human use. Just one cycle of tren can increase blood pressure, cause fertility problems, and increase risk of cardiovascular disease in an adult male. With a teenager, those effects could be even more pronounced, and it could affect development. Steroids are, simply put, dangerous. They bring results and do exactly what they're intended for, which is desirable. This desirability only makes them more dangerous. In conclusion, if you see a friend, a teammate, a family member, or even a future child is an athlete and they're considering using, make sure they know the dangers these drugs can present in the long term to their health. At the end of the day, there's only one muscle in your body that really matters, and that's the heart. Thank you.